Well, let me start by saying I've already been serving the town in a volunteer position for a long time now. In 2005, 2006, I served on the sign committee, which actually met about 20 times, and then our new ordinance went in front of the town council. I went to that town council meeting because it was important to me. There's a lot of things about a town council, a sign ordinance, one of which was I wanted to make sure that all of our public and private accredited schools, all of our public and private youth sports organizations and youth cultural events were able to use that banner, and the banner of our town. And recently St. Rita's had some financial problems and they needed to use that banner, so they got to, and that was an important thing. I've now served 8 years on the San Anselmo Park and Recreation Commission. I was voted chair 3 times on that, and we got a lot done in those 8 years. I flipped Parkside Preschool, which is a preschool we own, the town owns, was losing $25,000 a year. I led the investigation into that. I led to make changes, and we flipped it to a $75,000 budget surplus. We put our rec registration online, which was fumbling when I got on the commission, and then it got online, we got it going, and that's bringing us more money. When I joined the Park and Rec, it was 7 men. By recruiting, both me and former Park and Rec Commissioner Tom McInerney, who serves on the council, we recruited a lot of women, and now it's 50-50 with the new chair and the new vice chair both being women. It's changed that commission for the better, and I think we've changed the town for the better in the work I've done in the last 8 years. So now, after 8 years, I'm looking for a way to serve the community in a different manner. Great. Well, there are 3 top ones, and they are flood mitigation. I'll get to the whys and what in a moment. Our budget and our roads. So our roads are it's been measured, it's called PCI, Pavement Condition Index, and the PCI results in San Anselmo are amongst the worst in the Bay Area. There's only a couple of towns worse than us. I think Larkspur is, maybe one other, I don't recall the last one, but we're really bad in our roads, and the issue is that road repair is unbelievably expensive, and here's the thing, if you don't continually maintain your roads, then they become in worse disrepair, and the repair costs go up exponentially. So what I'm doing to resolve that is I'm supporting the 1.5 cent sales tax measure that's on the ballot this year that is designed to bring in about $500,000 a year for the next 10 years and will be dedicated, because we want to, let me explain that in a minute, to roads and some infrastructure. I'm more into the roads than the infrastructure. Let me explain what I mean by that. I would have preferred, and I think the councilor members, the ones that are on now, would have preferred what's called a direct tax. To get a direct tax that is essentially sent right to roads, you have to have 66% of the voters approve that. And we did a poll, and that was very close. Might have passed, might have failed. If you're going to do something, there's no point in failing. So we know that we feel strongly, we can get the 1/2 cent sales tax put on. That is not a directed tax. It goes into the general fund, but if I was elected, I would join the others in spending that $500,000 a year on our roads. Flood mitigation. We need to stop talking about flood mitigation and doing something. This is not just a San Anselmo issue. This is a Ross Valley issue, all of Ross Valley. And so one of the things we can do is replace some bridges. We have Madrone, Sycamore, and Nokomis, which are at the end of their cycle life, and so the federal government has given us funds to replace them. And that's good, because with a redesign of those bridges, first off, the roads around them will be replaced, which is a bonus, but secondly, the flow of water will be much better. Here's the problem: we can't do that, even though we have federal money. And why can't we do that? Because if we allow the flow of water to increase drastically and we flood Greenbrae or Ross or Corte Madera, we are liable for those damages. You can't do that. So by putting aside an equal amount of money or directing that water directly into a flood detention basin, we can begin to actually get something done. So I'm supporting the flood detention basin in Memorial Park. Now, I'm explaining that as chair of Park and Rec, and as someone who's served there for 8 years, and as somebody who's been a head coach down at San Anselmo Baseball for 7 years, I've been on that field a lot more than any of my competitors, I can assure you of that, and certainly most of the town councilors. I'm not going to let them wreck Memorial Park. They are going to wreck Memorial Park, but like a phoenix, it will be rebuilt. We have an opportunity to increase the park's features, amenities. We have flood problems right now. During the championship game this year, which I won, or my team won, we had to put a yellow cone in the middle of left field because we had yet another flood from a broken pipe. So then we have some problems down there. By using the flood detention basin, by using the $7 million we expect to get in a grant, millions of more dollars we're expecting to get in the tax for flood, we have a chance to make some actual accomplishments in flood mitigation. The last point was the budget. In fact, the town councilors that preceded me have done a fine job on our budget. We're in pretty good shape. I just want to continue their work, and that means to watch our expenses. And that's why Parkside Preschool, an actual accomplishment of a $100,000 flip, is something that I'm proud of. I also supported, and I have a letter from the former chief of police, the merger of police services. We merged with Larkspur and Corte Madera to create Central Marin Police Authority, and that has saved us a lot of money and will continue for years. That's a big question. You have to look at every individual spending bill at the time that's before you. So you have to see, what is the purpose? What's the ultimate goal? Is this the best use of this money? Are the vendors the best choice? Okay? And you have to watch it throughout the process. And that's why when we have these tax measures, we often do, and we have done this again, put a commission together to watch how a tax measure is spent. So for example, if this tax measure, Measure D, passes, there will be a Measure D monitoring committee. And that committee's sole purpose, they meet twice a year, is to watch how the Measure D money comes in and how the Measure D money is spent. We have a Measure G expenditure commission that was preceding this. Measure G is now gone. And we have that for the library tax and for other taxes. So it's important to use more minds than one. You've only got 5 people on the council, but you have a lot more people in the community that are willing and able to help. And so that's what you have to do. You have to look at everyone, and you have to bring in other minds to help you. Well, I think telling the truth is critical. And that's a very important aspect in this campaign. So I will always tell the truth. It's easier to remember the story when the story is the truth, rather than coming up with a different story.
Right.
I think the question is a little invalid, because I'm going to tell you that it's going to adversely affect people even if done correctly. During the application process for the empty seat, one of the council members, Ford Green, asked about the use of power, and it was a valid question. As a town council member, even only one of 5, but the council together has a lot of power, and you have to use it appropriately, but somebody's going to end up unhappy with your decisions. What you have to do is make your best determination. Make sure that you're not doing things for your own personal reasons. Look at the information you're given, and make sure you do one of the most important things you can do as a council member, and that's to listen. Allow people to talk, hear them out, seek out other opinions, wait, ponder, think about it, and then make your best determination. People will be hurt even if you do it right. Well, let's be clear. There's the Brown Act, which requires that meetings are held openly, that conversations between councilors are not held in closed doors. You can't speak about issues with the other town councilors in private. All that should be open to the public, and the public should be aware of what's going on. The Brown Act is an act that is paid for by the state, and the state is currently not paying that. But San Anselmo and most towns and villages and cities are agreeing to continue, and I certainly support that. First off, the money is to pay for like postings on a bulletin board. It's ridiculous. It's not a big fee. It's not a big deal. And the Brown Act is important. It allows people to be part of the government. When conversations happen behind closed doors, the public's not part of the process. That's totally wrong. All agenda items need to be posted prior to the meeting. Anything that's going to be submitted to the meeting should be posted before the meeting, unless for some reason it came in at the last minute, in which case you say, we just got this today, but we're posting it now. So I fully support the Brown Act. It's not just the law, but the belief system behind the law. You know, you don't do things behind people's backs. That's just not government, the way I see it. I would certainly never support that. You know, my dad, when I was young, my dad was a lawyer, as was my mom. And my brother and sister were both lawyers. And my dad used to say to us all the time, honesty, decency, integrity. And he said it so much, I mean like 1,000, million, zillion times, that at some point in the family it kind of became a little, dad joke, honesty, decency, integrity. But you know what? It actually means a lot to me. I've always conducted myself the way I'd want him to be proud. So tell the truth. That's important. It's important to tell the truth all the time. And then you don't have to worry about what the story is. And people may criticize you. You may have a different opinion. You may have different views. but at least you say what it is you think, and you don't hold things behind closed doors or do things without telling people why. So it's important to hold your ethical standards to the highest manner. And then if people don't agree with you, that's fine, but it doesn't become a problem for you. So I will hold myself to honesty, decency, and integrity, and I think my dad would be proud.